All right, in just a second here, I'm going to start this presentation for the single family housing market in 2020 or in January of 2026. Okay, it looks like got everybody on. So this is the housing market for 2026 in 80503 single family homes. So the first thing that we have is comparing 2024 to 2025. There's slightly less new homes for sale. That is, homes that listed for the first time in January of 2025. There were 39 homes for sale versus this year in 2026, there were 32, so slightly less. More homes went under contract this January. So in 2025, there were 12 homes under contract, and there are 24 homes under contract today. And these are homes that went under contract in January. Last year, so in December of 2024 versus 2025, there were a few more homes under contract in 2024 compared to this year. So a little bit of a deceleration followed by a acceleration. And then months of supply remains low. So right now, let's take a look at it. There's about 2.4 months of supply, meaning that would take about 2.5 months for all homes to sell if nothing new became available. So for new listings in 2025, February was the best month in order to sell a home because there were the fewest number of homes for sale proportional to the amount of buyers who were looking. Sellers had less competition, therefore, and they gave them a better ability to set the price for the market. If we look at the months of supply again, so we can see that this year we're at 2.4 months of supply. Last year in January, we were at 2.4 months of supply. So we're about equal if we're looking at this on a monthly basis. If we look at this on a average 3-month basis, there's actually been a slight uptick. Um, let's see, and buyers are shopping a little bit earlier. So typically buyers without children enrolled in school are able to move a little easier. And then families or buyers with children that are enrolled in school tend to move more towards the spring or early summer. So this will adversely affect larger homes, which are typically purchased by buyers with children. If we look at the th rolling 3-month average for months of supply, we can see that it has been uptaking over the last 5 years. So in 2021, we have the COVID era interest rates. Then in 2022, interest rates are rising quickly. So as the interest rates are rising quickly, buyers are competing with each other, often paying exaggerated prices in order to lock in a lower interest rate, which has a larger effect on their monthly payment. As we can see, as the interest rates increase, so does the months of supply. Then we've been in this higher interest rate environment, higher compared to the purchase prices. And it has slightly increased. This is because each year there has been less inventory that sells. These homes tend to relist on the marketplace in the following year. So since this trend is rising on the rolling 3-month average, we can see right now we're at a higher spot than we were last year. So that gives an indication, one indication that there potentially could be some more listings coming on the market, which would drive this up. As this goes up, it takes longer for homes to sell. So it's important to realize that the longer it takes for a home to sell, it's less likely that you're going to get close to 100% of asking price. Showings per listing is another metric we can look at from January to see what the 2026 market looks like. So we can see in 2025, we have a major uptick in the number of showings per listing. Compared to January of last year, we're slightly higher, so buyers have started shopping early in both years. Um, Homes listed earlier on average get more showings, so therefore they're more likely to sell close to asking price, and this is concurrent with the research that we put together from the 2025 sales. Um, So last year we had talked, or looking at the data for last year, we had talked about which homes were actually selling in Longmont. If you remember this graph I put together, we kind of have like three different types of groups of homes. There's the homes priced between $200 a square foot and $600 a square foot. The main thing with these is on average, they were selling in less than 100 days. This is where we wanted to be. Because if you were priced between $200 to $600 a square foot and your home was on the market for more than 100 days, so aka this group, these sellers were more likely to give the buyer a bigger discount and pay higher concessions. The third group was the luxury homes priced over $600 a square foot, so everything on this side. For the most part, about half of those homes would sell in less than 100 days, and another half would sell over 100 days. Luxury sellers were giving buyers less money towards concessions because these buyers are less interest rate sensitive and tend to be more cash buyers. If we look at the new homes that have been listed on the market this year, I've broken this down into homes for sale in Northwest Longmont. So that's going to be Hover up to 66 for the most part, representing this area around McIntosh. Then for Southwest Longmont, we're in this section coming down to Renaissance. And then the other homes that have come for sale are in the Niwot and the 80503 area of Gun Barrel. So this represents our third area. In Niwot, there were 11 new listings in January. Two of those have already gone pending, and there's about a 5% weighted probability of a contingent status by area. So in other words, the chance of a home uh, appearing on the market at Niwot and going under contract about 5%. In Southwest Longmont, there are about 14 new homes. Two of those went pending, and the probability of this was around 10%. And then Northwest Longmont, there are 11 new listings, six pending, the weighted probability of close to 20%. So again, that's a probability that a home would get listed in this area and go under contract. Uh, if you just look at this as a bulk, about 40% of all the homes listed for sale were in Northwest Longmont, primarily because, as we saw for the 2025 report, the primary driver of the market right now is affordability. Northwest Longmont in the 80503 zip code offers the greatest degree of affordability per square footage. So this chart kind of summarizes that up. I put together the number of listings that appeared in each area. And we can see in Northwest Longmont, out of the 11 new listings, the average price per square foot for those listings was $283. The ones that went under contract were priced around $286. So about even here. That's a good sign. In Niwot and Gun Barrel, it was about $381 was the average listing price per square foot, and the average home that went under contract was $434 per square foot. I wouldn't take too much away from this. It's just that in Niwot, there are very large homes, which skews the dollars per square foot. And then there's also some smaller homes as well. So the ones that were going under contract tended to be the more affordable ones, which actually have a little bit of a more affordable in terms of overall price, which actually had a slightly higher dollars per square foot basis. And then in Southwest Longmont, there was 14 homes for sale with an average square price per square foot of 373. And the homes that went under contract were the more affordable ones at $302 per square foot. For the 2025 report, we talked about affordability being the number one factor impacting the market. We also found on a correlation analysis the largest item affecting the sales price and the speedy sale of a home was a relationship of price per square foot. We can see a few different factors here that we reviewed in the last report talking about factors affecting affordability. Interest rates, we can see are declining for 2026. We hit our lowest level of 6%. Currently, we're around 6.125 and 6.25. So interest rates have ticked up slightly, but overall it's trending lower. A few things that are affecting interest rates right now, Kevin Walsh's appointment as the next Federal Reserve Board chairman. Um, some investors are seeing him to be more hawkish than was expected. But overall, the market, I think, is appreciating the fact that it's somebody with at least some continuity in the space. Then the current Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, at his last um, press conference was uncommitted on whether or not the Federal Reserve would be lowering interest rates this year. So while many people are expecting some decreases, he was uncommittal to that. And that also correlated with a slight uptick in the 30-year mortgage, which follows a 10-year bond. Insurance premiums are steady, so after years of increases outpacing inflation, we expect that the rate changes of homeowners insurance should be at or below inflation for this year. And property taxes, in general, the assessed value has decreased, so that will help a little bit. However, it's important to remember that the mill levy is what's really important. I mean, so it's the assessed value plus the mill levy. And in some areas, the mill levies may be increasing still, which could result in increased property taxes. So although assessed values are generally down, it's not a one for one that property taxes will be lower. So if we look at what's looking positive to the start of the year versus what might be pose a challenge for the housing market in 2026, starting with the positive things, the declining prices. So as home prices have gone down, real wage growth has increased. So this reduces the affordability gap. Essentially, it's making the homes a little bit of cheaper. Declining interest rates again should boost affordability. We saw last time that each quarter point reduction in interest rates has about a, was it 2.5% adjustment to affordability. And the months of supply indicates a neutral market. In other words, inventory remains tight. Typically, when months of supply surpasses 6 months, then it becomes a buyer's market. So things that remain a headwind are the rents is still cheaper than purchasing a home at this point in time. Indications of There are some indications that the month of supply will be higher. That's if we're looking not at the month to month months of supply, but if we're looking at the rolling 3 months average. Again, that means that sellers will take longer for their homes to sell, and typically that results in more negotiating power for buyers. Um, Second, or another item is Colorado legislature continues to target landlord rights. So this could encourage a slow exit of landlords from the market, thereby shrinking the pool of buyers. This legislation is specifically the one that requires landlords to renew their lease with the tenants at a substantially similar rate, means that buyers have less incentive to move from renting to buying. Of all the homes that are listed for sale at this moment, many of those are luxury homes over $1 million. And there's starting to be a little bit of a potential glut there. So if we look at the months of supply for luxury homes, things are getting slower in that area. And then there's some tech jitters in the market. So as of today, the 5th, we've had 3 declining days in the S&P 500, with investors primarily worried about tech performance. So just something to watch because most buyers are financing part of their down payment oftentimes through the sales of stock. So some key takeaways: buyer demand is stable to a potential slight increase if we're taking that from the number of homes under contract and the number of showings per listing. Indications that the luxury market might be increasing in months of supply faster than other price points. And the rolling 3 month average of months of supply indicates that there could be a potential influx of inventory. This is a threat that we talked about in our 2025 recap. Um, so sellers should consider accelerating getting their homes on the market to potentially avoid competing against with relisted homes. Try to price it competitively. And in the event that it looks like February might be similar to 2025, that is the only month where sellers routinely sold their homes for over asking price, I would suggest setting a deadline for offers. This year, of the 14 homes that went under contract in January, The majority of those went under contract in a week to 2 weeks. If your home is going under contract within a week, it usually benefits from a deadline for offers. If you got questions about that, let me know, and I'd be happy to explain that in a little bit more detail. Finally, I've got a few homes coming on the market in case anybody is interested. These are primarily in West Longmont. So we have one over in the Shores subdivision by McIntosh, listed at 670. We're having an open house this weekend, and there'd be a live video tour on YouTube. And then there's another one that we have in McIntosh Farms. This one is steps away from McIntosh Lake. It's got a private HOA maintained path that connects that 5K loop. 5,745 square feet, so a ton of square footage for the price. This one's going to be listed a little bit above $1.2 million. If you're looking for an affordable ranch in West Longmont, we've got one for 510,000. It's got a new roof, newer windows, newer HVAC systems in place. So this is a nice buy, very low maintenance. And then I've got one coming up with an ADU for 620,000. This is in Dot Estates of East Longmont. I think this is a really nice neighborhood for the price and the square footage. This one's got the walkout basement for the ADU as well. So these are some of my credentials. As always, I'll let you guys take a look at those if you'd like. And if you'd like to schedule a private meeting to get a estimate on what your home could be worth, and here's a QR code for you. Got a phone number you can call or text me there at any time, email as well. And then, as always, I'll post these kind of monthly recaps of what's going on in the market and what to expect in our Hello 80503 group. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next one.